Whenever people are too rational and materialistic, then the dreams point out something completely supernatural. I remember the dream of a woman who dreamt that she saw on the floor a little mechanical animal made of diamonds, but which was alive and walked around. And she consulted Jung about it, and he said, that is to prove to you that the impossible is possible. That you are still too rational, you think such a thing cannot happen. You are not open to miracles. And there are miracles. In the realm of the psychic realities, miracles can happen. And that the dreams assert generally by asserting the impossible. And say, look, you think that's impossible, and just that does exist in the realm of the psyche. It doesn't exist in the realm of matter, but it does exist in the realm of the psyche. You could say the dream itself is such a ladder. It connects us with the depth of our psyche, with the unknown depth of our psyche. Every dream is a rung on a ladder, so to speak. Generally, one makes friends with one's shadow figure. Tell me who your friends are, and I have the whole panorama of your good and bad qualities. The bad qualities have also an attraction, a fascination for one. The friend can do the things one cannot do. The friend is generally the person whom one envies. The friend is more elegant, or dances better, or can move about better in outer life, or has depth, and has a better mind or something, and that is fascinating. So there is always a kind of love-hatred with the shadow. And with one's friends, if one hasn't worked on one's shadow, one has with one's friend also generally a love-hatred relationship. I am with my friend Bob, I am with my friend so-and-so. And then you just take the first sentence and you ask the dreamer what it is. What was your childhood home like? How did you feel there? Were you happy there? How long did you stay there? And so on. So then, with whom are you? With your friend Bob. How is your friend Bob? Oh, he was a bore, but we did all our childhood mischief together with him, and whatever the people tell you. And then you kind of insert these, what we call associations, into the text. Then it would be, I am in a situation, I am psychologically still in my boyhood situation, and I am with a part of myself which is boring but also mischievous. That would be the translation. Then you have naturally to think that applies to the moment of the dream. So in what way is the dreamer, when one leg still in his childhood home, where is he still reacting like he reacted as a boy? The dream is speaking about that corner of his personality, you have to assume. She in the next part discovers that this unknown woman she has slapped is a waitress in the downstairs room. So that gives us a little clue who that woman is. That is a part of her femininity who has up till now only concentrated on serving other people instead of looking after herself. When we look at this dream, we have to first look at the geography of the place. There is a living room sunk in the floor low down, and then the bedrooms above. The bedrooms have all the quality of private life, private territory, where she doesn't want to have any intruders. Downstairs on the level floor, or even a bit on a lower level, the dream puts it on a low level, there is her social life. Now, this woman has made a great career, a professional career, and living a lively social life, and the dream puts that down. That is, so to speak, the ground floor. But the important thing is higher up. There is a problem higher up, so to speak, which would have more priority. The problem is in the bedroom. Then she comes again back to the upstairs bedroom, and the bedroom is very bare and is a cramped hotel room, quite in contrast to her actual bedroom, which is comfortable and wide with armchairs and bookshelves. So it represents her private life, her intimate life, and the dream tells her, look here, there is not enough space, and we know now that space and time are the same thing, therefore I would say there's not enough space-time for your private life. This is a woman who probably lives much too extrovertedly her professional life and her social life, and she doesn't take enough room and space and time to be with herself. And so that her psychological bedroom is a cramped hotel room, And the hotel room is also something where strangers live and where strangers can walk in and out. She has no real privacy. She has not a realm of introversion where she can be herself, where she can have her personal secrets. It's all spent away to other people. She finds in this cramped bedroom a beautiful little boy who is delicate and smiling and absolutely charming, divine little figure. Now, a boy in a woman's dream generally means a new enterprise, and therefore, because boys, if you look at them, young boys are the epitome of doing something all the time in an honest. Jung always said a boy that is the honest enterprise. And that honest enterprise we must therefore probably put together with the fact that she has begun painting. That was her first undertaking where she did something for her own psyche, for her own self, and where there was an honest enterprise which was not looking for success or anything, but doing a thing for its own sake. And that's the little boy, and there something comes into being, a new aspect of her personality comes into being. And that is a dangerous moment of transition when she therefore takes that brother down and brings him in, to bring him into the flat. Her flat is in the 12th floor, would mean to bring home, that would be bringing home the brother into her own inner realm. To drop in a dream has generally to do with a sudden disappointment and giving everything up. To let oneself drop into nothingness, so to speak. That would be a reaction in her to say, oh, I am hopeless, nothing will ever come out of me, I can't make it, I give up. And then just throw herself away into the street, literally, and not make the effort to build up her own personal life. For this type of intellectual man, the tasks of everyday life, cooking, sewing, looking after the kitchen things and money and so on, is a heavy burden. And sand generally carries the association of meaninglessness and sterile earthly things. So to him, up till now, the earth is meaningless, sterile, a bother, so to speak, which he drags along if he has to and would like to avoid it. With those Doberman pinchers, and those would be the earthly forces, the instinctual force. The dog represents our domesticated instincts, but they are hostile. They are associated to the Nazis using them. The zoologist Konrad Lorenz once said, the dog was the greatest and best conquest man ever made by taming the dog and making him his companion. He is that representative of the animal kingdom who has adapted most to us. I mean, that's why we can take him even into our houses, and compared to the cat, he's much more domesticated. He has really given up his whole way of life and sacrificed it to become our companion. Probably the dogs were accepted by man because of his hunting quality. They helped the hunting gathering societies in the hunting, and later they became the shepherd dogs who were protecting and keeping the herds together, and the watchdog protecting from robbers and burglars and danger. So the dog has become a tremendous cherished helper of man in all his most former important jobs, and therefore he carries the projection of being the companion, the best friend and companion of man, the psychopomp. In modern dreams, very often or generally, the dog represents also our instinctual nature, which has much more flair. The dog is oriented by his nose. Actually, dogs are short-sighted. They don't see very far, but they hear very well, and their nose is 20 times better than ours. And so he represents the instinctual flair or intuition, where our computerized mind doesn't know any further way. The dog sniffs it. Dogs have a strange relationship to the other world, to the land of the dead and the land of the ghosts and the land where the dreams come from, to that what we call the unconscious, because of their instinctual nature. For instance, in practically all religions of the world, the dog is the guide of the dead in the other world. When the people have died, they have trouble to find the beyond and the land of the ancestors or the paradise or the underworld Miklan or whatever the beyond of the dead is in every religion. And there's everywhere the idea that there is a dog who has to be used as a guide to bring the dead there. In the beginning of the dream, she's brushing an orange cat. The cat stems in our countries originally from Egypt, and there it was a divine animal, and there was a cat goddess Bastet, who was the goddess of music, sexuality, pleasure in life, and altogether fertility and life-embracing feminine fertility. The cat also, in contrast to dogs, has never sold its soul to man. The cat has always a kind of egocentric reserve somewhere. The cat says to us, you may stroke me and you may serve me, but it never becomes your slave. And if you annoy it, it just walks out on you. And therefore the cat stands very often in women's dream as an image of something feminine, being independent and sure of itself, just what modern women are so often lacking. And that's why the cat goddess comes very often up in them as a positive model of feminine behavior, because the cat is not brutal and displays no masculine features. It is very feminine, and all the same it's very firm and very identical with itself, and very true to itself. The cat is not very amiable, but very true to itself. We can also look at the symbolism of the throat, and the throat is, for instance, in the Hinduistic teaching of the chakra centrum, is the center of the word, of the logos, of the spoken word. She believes in the world of words. She doesn't listen to what the instinct speaks out of one's stomach or from deeper centers, but that goes together with her floating in the air. She probably mirrors herself in her own reflections as a successful woman, and that is living in the world of ideas and words, and that is the so-called Vishuddha Centra in the Hinduistic chakra teaching, and that's what is attacked. I remember, for instance, a painter, Analysand, who dreamt that he was taking a shit at the toilet, and he produced so much and much and much more that the toilet overflew and it couldn't keep it anymore. And then we found out what happened. The evening before, he had started a painting and had taken a too small canvas, and then a lot of more fantasies came, and he couldn't put them on the canvas anymore. And because he was a bit stingy, he didn't want to buy a bigger canvas. And the dream clearly commented, but you see, the dream does not follow the rules of our good education and ideas of good manners. It speaks a nature language. Bolts and nuts. The bolts could be looked as a masculine symbol and the nuts as a feminine symbol. In German, the nuts are called Mutter, mother. Therefore, it's a union of masculine and feminine principle. It's a union of opposites, and bolts with nuts are there to connect, to make connections. I remember a man who had a great gift in writing and who should have written his thesis for the Jung Institute, and he had always dreams that powerful animals pursued him, and I interpreted that his creativity wanted to reach him, but he didn't accept it. He always said it was sexuality. Now actually he had a woman friend and had very satisfactory and lots of sex, and therefore I didn't believe his interpretation. But he didn't want and couldn't write till he dreamt that he was pursued by a bull, and he ran and ran, and the bull was after him, coming closer and closer, and in the last minute he jumped over a fence, and the bull stood still and went onto his hind legs, and he looked back and saw the erected penis of the bull, and it was a ballpoint. So I said, now there you are. After that he wrote an excellent thesis. Very often shadow figures pursue us, burglars or all sorts of enemies pursue us. And in general, one can say that if something in the dream pursues us, it wants to come to us. If only we could, it demonstrates that something which belongs to us wants to come towards us, but we are afraid of it. And by being afraid, we lend it an evil figure. Could we turn round and accept it, it would probably become more benevolent. Naturally, all rules about dream interpretation are paradoxical. We are sometimes pursued by powers in the unconscious where in the dream we can only escape. It is right to escape. There are destructive tendencies in the psyche which we have to avoid. But 80% of what pursues us in dream really wants to come towards us. One typical nightmare is that one is pursued by some terrible or demonic or unknown power, and one runs and runs for one's life, and knowing all the time in the dream that finally they will get one. And you hide and you can't hide, and they will see you, and you look for another hiding place, and they will discover you again, and you run and run. Persecution always means something wants to come to us. The only way to meet a persecuting demon is to turn around and to say, here I am, what do you want from me? Then the nightmarish pursuer generally changes face. It simply represents that we have turned away from some part of our psyche, and therefore it runs after us. It wants to get at us, literally. But we don't want it. The unconscious shows us the face we show it. If we reject something within us, then it becomes destructive to us. And if we don't reject it, that's what I mean by saying turning around and saying in a friendly manner, what do you want? Then you suddenly see that it isn't so bad. Then you have a chance that whatever pursues one shows a more amenable face, and that one can make some pact with it or some arrangement. And he first is in the square of a walled city. In Europe in old times, since Roman times, walled cities were always sketched laid out according to a cross in the middle, a square or a circle, and a cross in the middle in mandala form. And the original mythological idea behind it was always that the center represented the center of the world. You have that in the pattern of the town of Rome and of all Roman foundations, and later in most medieval towns you have the same layout. It is really a mandala, a world center. So he is in such a square place, so to speak, in the center of human life and human civilization. Now the pyramid, that would be a symbol of what Jung calls the self, the innermost divine center of the psyche. It is like an image of the self for men and women. And it is a pyramid which is built of 4 triangles. The Egyptian pyramids were built in this form, and the uppermost end, the point of the pyramid, was finished with such a 4th triangle stone, which finished the pyramid. And that uppermost stone was, we can't see that anymore because it's fallen off, but probably was covered with gold, and it was oriented in a way so that always it was first hit by the first ray of the rising sun. The golden quality which is stressed in the dream refers to immortality, because gold is the only metal the former people knew which is not corroded by old age or by acids or so on. You can bury gold and you can dig it up after 5,000 years absolutely unaltered, while silver, copper, iron, everything rusts and goes away. And so gold had carried always the projection of immortality, eternity, and highest value, even to the fact that we still have gold as the value standard of our monetary system, though many people say that's quite useless from a practical standpoint. But it has a symbolic value. Gold is the highest value, and that's why in most civilizations the divine figures are painted in gold or decorated, the statues are decorated with gold, and so on. The law of compensation seems to aim not as mechanically compensate. If I try to be good, my dreams are bad, or if I try to be too cheerful, my dreams are melancholy. Or it's not a mechanical bringing in the opposite. It is a compensation in view of a totality, as if to say you are lopsided, not in itself, but you are lopsided compared to your inner totality. That's what seems to be the essential wisdom of the dream, to preserve a balance of all thinkable psychic opposites and establish a kind of middle way or middle line. The unconscious seems to be very much in favor of the Chinese yin-yang philosophy, or this idea of the Tao being a subtle balance of opposites. Or rather, naturally, the yin-yang philosophy of the Chinese is based on revelations of the unconscious, or on studying the function of the unconscious.